Hello everyone and welcome one and all to Lightspeed Racing's Twilight Cup. We are going to waste absolutely no time getting into things because we have a lot to discuss, a lot to talk about, and crucially, we are about to get into qualifying, so we will not want to waste any time. First things first, we are here in the Hungaroring. It is a beautiful track, it is a beautiful day, and it is going to be an amazing race. That much I can absolutely assure you. So we will see how the drivers get on. But first, let's talk about the track itself and the race. So we have a 30-minute practice, we have 20-minute qualifying, and we then have a 60-minute race. A mandatory pit stop and shorter than last time out. So drivers might be a little bit thankful for the shorter race length, the respite, because it might be a little bit lower commitment, a little bit easier to manage. And with everyone wanting to put their best foot in first, this is where we get to see the top drivers running. Looking at the rest of the field and looking at the different divisions, as it currently stands, Claudio Zaza is going to be the one on top with 84 points. Brian Anderson in 78 points in second place, and Daniel Moffat with 66, following some good performances from that McLaren. The two Ferrari 296 GT3 cars are the ones standing at the top, so the balance has definitely shifted from those early McLaren days. That is just the Pro Division, folks. In the Pro-Am Division, we have Adam Rios taking the cake with 84 points, Richard Cook with 78, and Nick Regazzoni with 72. So two McLarens and a Mercedes AMG, that one being Richard Cook, and the one to keep an eye out for in that Pro-Am Division. You've got Craig Starkey as well, who is very close, just 3 points away with 69 in total. Nice. And then heading into the amateur division, we have Gavin Sullivan, a driver who has really punched above their weight with 90 points to their names, and Andrew Priadko 84 points as well. Scott Cameron with 73, and that is going to be your three classes. The Hungaroring with 14 corners, 4.4 miles of racing heaven. It is going to be an absolute corker of a race. But to the people in chat, welcome and thank you for coming, and we will hopefully be right in there with quali shortly. You should see a little bit of improvement in camera work today. We've got some new technology under the hood in order to ensure we have ourselves a great time and a great race out here tonight. So we'll be just moments away from jumping into quali. Free practice is just ending, and we will have a few things to talk about. Named Claudio Zaza setting the fastest lap by about a second here in free practice. So everyone is going to be putting their best foot out. It's looking a little bit overcast as far as the track goes. It is looking just a little bit overcast. And now we have ourselves a full-on qualifying session. So to the folks who are watching, we won't keep you waiting any longer as free practice is just wrapping up now. It is time to go racing, and not just racing, it's time to go racing at light speed. Let's do this, folks. We're about to jump in. And here we go. This is quali, and this is what you have been waiting for. So now we have got quite the race that is about to kick off on our hands. We've got a lot of drivers that we'll certainly need to keep an eye on. Daniel Moffat has been one that really has taken my eye, as we saw at least in Spa. They put down a really good performance, and just in general they've shown that they've had some really good pace. We've of course got Claudio Zaza, who is going to be another one to keep our eyes on. The fastest lap in practice, and that Ferrari is looking mean, I do have to say. So we are going to see some brilliant driving, some brilliant racers all around, and everyone is going to be bringing their absolute A game. I'm excited to see who is going to be the one to really take it and really push as we are out on the track right now. So you've got Brian Anderson as well, who's going to be in the Pro Division. We've got a couple of other key entrants here, which is something that we also do want to mention. we have Finn Tag joining us in the Pro-Am division and Pascal Reinhardt joining us for the amateurs. So definitely say hi to him. Definitely make him feel welcome if you do see him around or in the server. And we've got plenty of action up ahead of us. We're going to be on board with, I think, the one to keep an eye on, as they are going to be leading this initial queue. It is going to be Daniel Moffat, and it is going to be the McLaren 720S GT3 Evolution. That is going to be the one to start us off. Let's jump in with them and let's see the kind of pace that they can put down here at the Hungaroring. Overcast a little bit, track not looking ideal, it's looking fast, so that is going to play a little bit with their track grip. The surface temps aren't looking the highest, but they're still keeping a fairly good line through the first couple of corners. Turn 3 is going to be coming up, and that's going to be a heck of a winder. Swinging straight through here, just on the power, pushing it hard. And as you can see from the helicam, they've got a fairly decent chunk of space between themselves and the rest of the field, and that is absolutely crucial in order to getting that top performance, because the dirty air is notorious, especially on the Hungaroring, for causing a little bit of an upset with cars. At least that's what we've seen in the past. Either way, as we come here through the second sector, and coming up to Sector 3, it's looking fairly clean for the 720S. It's looking like a fairly good lap. They're not going as wide as maybe they could do on some of these curbs, as we have seen some drivers take some hefty extends in the past. But Sector 3 now, lots of tight corners, the slower section of that circuit, and a conveniently placed banner over the top of the track, right in the camera's view of the drivers. There you go, you ride it through the apex, and you ride it through, so eventually we come through final corner here. It's looking good for Daniel Moffat. What is it going to be? It is going to be none other than a 44.847 for that McLaren. Claudio Zaza just behind with, that is going to be Brian Anderson in that beautiful orange 296 GT3, who is going to pip it and take the cake. Craig Starkey, P4. Paul Sims, P5. Richard Cook coming across the line now, another driver, but there you've got an invalidation. They're not going to be taking that one home. You've got Robert Homer in the 911 992 spec GT3. And we're going to see what they can put down on the board, as a few other drivers are coming across now. Mishin is going to be one that is taking it. You've got a few other drivers, and then Homer coming in P6. So fairly quick times. A fair few invalidations for Dismukes, Barham, and Priadko. Is Everett going to have anything on the boards here? As you see, in fact, no, they're going to be abandoning. They're going to be yielding for the Ferrari of Finn Tag, our newest competitor here in the league, representing the Pro-Am division, running a little bit of a wide swing, but arcing it back in very nicely. As we come across the line, that is going to be P6 and net P2 in the Pro-Am standings for this driver. So a few more of them are going to be coming across. You've got James Payton here, who is going to be getting ourselves a neat and very nice P7. So very nicely done there. And now a few more drivers are going to have to go out for their next runs. Krasnov here across the line. It's going to be a decent one, and it's going to be P5, so that's going to be net P4. Craig Starkey, though, leads the Pro-Am pack, which is a very curious happenstance. We're going to hop aboard with Gary Barham, though, now, as he's got himself quite the striking Lamborghini, if I do say so. Quite a striking appearance. And with everyone mostly having laps down on the field, only 5 drivers yet to set a time. That is going to be Richard Cook, Roger Dispicus, Gary Barham, Priadko, and Everett. They are going to be coming through. Oh no, that is going to be one of them setting a time. So it's just 4 now. It's just 4 who are left yet to set times. And so that is, I believe, that was Cook with the P5, yes, but Barham now coming into the third and final sector. Need to be heavy on the brakes just at the start of the curb in order to get the line that they need into turn 12. 13 now. Hang it deep to the apex. Nice and deep to the apex here. And then we are coming across, and that is going to be a fairly solid run. That is going to be a P11 for Gary Barham. That's going to put him down there. And then you have also got Peyton, who's going to be coming through as well with a bit of an improvement. Dismukes in the Ferrari for Black Flag Racing. Going to be coming across here, and that's going to be P16, so a respectable time on the board. Net P4 in the standings, as you see a little bit of leapfrogging coming from these other drivers. Let's take a look at Craig Starkey now. So has been dropped down to P2 in the Pro-Am standings next to Finn Tag as we come across through the final corner. Turn 14 here in that beautiful blue and white stripes Adidad livery. So rocking the colours, rocking the Ferrari, and as we come through, it is going to be a good run, but it is not going to be an improvement. It is just 8 milliseconds shy, as you have Mickey Taylor coming in for a P8 and a solid run overall. We've got Benjamin Alexi, a driver who is coming to prove themselves and really put themselves through their paces. Again, we're not seeing that much of a Porsche dominance, despite what some have thought in the past. Mishin goes across the line but doesn't set a new time. And a few more drivers are going to be going, and crucially, there's not going to be a lap. So Alexi is going to be coming into the pits. Finn Tag now, current leader of the Pro-Am division, the Pro-Am pack. Are they going to be getting themselves an even bigger extension of their lead? This looks like a good run, and this could be it for them here. And it's going to be half a second down, so no improvement for Finn Tag in Tag Motorsports. We're going to head on board with Paul Sims, again another driver that we love to take a look at, because they are a driver who we have seen as having monumental pace and just sort of picking their moments to extract it. Very wide swing at the end of Sector 2. So coming through to say turn 11 and heading into turn 12 now. Very wide swing, but that is still legit. That is still legal, as defined by the game. That was not exceeding the track limits. Either way, Paul Sim now tight to the apex and to the curbs as we come through across the line. That is going to be a promotion. That's going to be up to P7 for Paul Sim, and that's going to put him up to net P5 still. But a very good performance nonetheless, and a big improvement that is going to serve him very well coming through the field. You've got the Priadco, the #1 car, and the only other Mercedes on the field besides Richard Cook. So awesome to see. We do have a singular Audi, and that is going to be James Payton, the only Audi on the field, with that very nice sort of black and brown and orange. Very dark, very earthy tones. I'm into it. I like it. We are coming through turn 13. Good arcing. You'll see Priadco just up ahead is going to get a big jump, and that is going to be P4 for them there. Can Peyton match it? They are going to improve to P7, but it's not going to be enough. We're going to look to the other Mercedes driver now, and we're going to stick with them. This is going to be Richard Cook entering Sector 2 now. You can see how much that car is rotating and almost what looks like sliding to some as they come through that very quick left-hander. It looks sharp, but it is deceptively fast, especially when you carry the speed and you really angle it across the curbs. See that black and aqua blue Mercedes looking mighty fine as it navigates some of the curbs and the bumps of the chicanes here at the Hungaroring. It's looking like a tight run. Looking like a very tight run indeed for Richard Cook. As we're getting through turn 13 now. And final corner for Richard Cook. Looks like a little bit on the brakes late there, but they are going to keep that speed and they are going to swing it very nicely out to the curb. What is it going to be? It is going to be a good run, but that is going to be quite substantially down. Maybe they made a mistake earlier in their lap. As we're going to be on board once again with James Payton. Are they going to be getting an improvement this time round? Remember, you've got a few laps in quali before you maybe have to go out and in again. These cars are built to go out much longer. And here we go. That is not going to be an improvement. That is a few tenths down for James Payton. We're not seeing any big jumps today. Curiously, though, Claudio Zaza in the white Ferrari is not sort of standing atop of the timesheets, despite being the one on the top of the standings. So they are going to have to fight upwards if they want any chance of having this race today. It is going to be Daniel Moffat. The one I was talking up a little bit earlier in this race is the one that currently stands to hold the big title of pole position here at the Hungaroring. They can get some good momentum behind here this race. As we come through to turn 13 now for this McLaren. It is looking very nice, very smooth. A little bit of a tighter line than we've seen from some in the past, but getting the speed on the exit, being a little bit conservative even on the curbs. Yeah, I'll say 1.2 seconds down. This isn't a push run from them. And Zaza, I think, is going to be staying out and setting themselves up for a run here. We're going to stick on board with their entire lap, as we may see some movements around the field. We're going to stick on board with them, as now they are going to be angling for the best run possible. Now, while we have this moment in quali here, and as we're going to be on board with Zaza for the rest of the lap, I do want to take a moment to take a minute's silence to respect the passing of another driver in the league racing community, in the sim racing community, and that is going to be Christian Colagrosso of the Ballas eSport team. Unfortunately, a fatal accident took his life very recently, and we did want to pay our respects from all of us here at Lightspeed Racing, the LSR family. So it was a competitor in our RTGF event series, but more than that, just a great person, great driver all around, and he's going to be sorely missed by friends, family, and racers alike. So until the rest of this lap, we're going to be holding a silence in memory of him. Yeah, thank you for that, folks. So remember him as a great driver, of course, but more important than that, a great friend and great personality who will be sorely missed. And we hold our heads high and we race today to honor his memory and honor his legacy. Here we go. Down into the final sector of the Hungaroring with Claudio Zaza once again. They are going to remain committed to a full run. They are a quarter of a second up on their best deltas. They are looking very fast, very clean here. It all comes down to the last turn. Got a few drivers who are making improvements as well, but none like Zaza are currently doing. And it is going to be a big improvement. It's going to be up into P2. Moffat still takes the cake, but crucially now is where we see that Zaza is looking very, very strong. We're on board with Richard Cook here, as they're another driver who has made some serious gains and are looking very quick so far. As we come to the final few minutes of qualifying, everything is on the line here in order to get the best position here for the start of this 60-minute race. He has seemed to be stuck though behind another car, and that is in fact going to be his other Mercedes-Benz AMG driver. That is Priadko. That is the amateur driver who is currently, punching really above their weight. Is technically faster than Cook in the standings with a P5 spot, and looks to be matching and about breaking even on their current run. So Priadko is really sort of teetering on their edge. If they can make a 10th, they could even start leapfrogging some of these top pros. And I would maybe reconsider their classification a little, because dang, are they putting down some amazing pace. And we're on board with Richard Cook here. It's looking like they are going to be a bit slower because they are stuck behind that car, and you can see there the massive arc and wide swing is an indicator that they are making this lap the one that they want to commit to, as they are not going to be improving this time. Someone who is going to be improving though is going to be Starkey. Hopefully we'll see if they can get a bit of a run, as they do currently have top honors in this position. They do have top honors in the Pro-Am group. And here we go. He is going to be looking on good form, but that is not his best lap. I think he made a mistake in the third sector. That's why he was looking much further down. As you can see, that is going to be a Ferrari, and that's going to be Anderson off into the weeds, as I assume he's gone into the pits there after that little excursion, we'll call it. Anyway, we're looking around, and I can see that Paul Sims is on a fairly strong run here. It's looking like they are on decent pace. The track has not evolved that much, short of maybe a little bit of rubbering in. But the track temps have remained consistent, drivers have remained consistent, and it's all about just manipulating that car where you want it to go. Paul Sims knows how to do that. Probably one of the best in the field to know how to do that, to be honest. Here we go, as we come across the line here for Paul Sims. It is going to be an improvement, and as the flag falls, he's going to be the first one to fully commit to a time, and that's going to be P10 for him. So no major improvements there, and only a few drivers are still on a lap. You've got Scott Cameron, for instance, coming through in that McLaren. He is going to be on the books for an improvement as we come across the line. It is going to be a big jump. He's up into P12, so that is looking like a home run here for the McLaren. And you have also got Mickey Taylor in the Ferrari, who seems to be on very strong pace likewise, and that is going to be them jumping up into P10. A brilliant job, a brilliant move. Craig Starkey, though, with a P4 standout, so they are going to be leapfrogging not only Priadko, but Krasnov too, to really drive it home. And a few more drivers are coming through, but it looks like it is curtains here in quali, and you have Mishin, the only driver currently left on track, and it's looking like they just need to bring it home, because this doesn't seem like that fast of a run. the speed isn't necessarily there, and you see a very sharp entry. Didn't quite carry the speed as they would have liked to. But they are going to remain committed regardless. And as we come round the final corner here, very tight on the rubber hard. And there we go, that is quali officially ended, folks. That is quali done. And you can see our timing order. So Daniel Moffat wins out in qualifying. Claudio Zaza, Brian Anderson, Craig Starkey, and Sergei Krasnov form your top 5. And you can see the rest of them falling in perfect formation. Here we are, we're going to take a small intermission as the race gets itself ready. And as we get ourselves ready for the full qualifying session that is about to take place. Do not go anywhere, folks, because it is about to get very spicy indeed here in the quali session. Or here in the race. Remember, 60 minutes, just as a reminder. You have 60 minutes of racing. You have the pit stop window, which opens 10 minutes before and after, before the end and after the start. So 40 minutes you have to make the pit lane and make yourself go in for that mandatory fuel. We're just checking if everything is okay, if we've got the okay from race control. Another thing is we do have live stewarding in place. So with the live stewarding enabled, that does mean that we will see incidents being adjudicated in real time, and you will see the penalties come through additionally too. So with that all being said, we have got the official okay from race control, and we are going to be jumping in to this race and looking at some of our drivers. So looking at our few, the main one to keep an eye on is going to be none other than Daniel Moffat, who got the pole position here in quali. Leading for the charge for the Pro-Am drivers is going to be none other than Craig Starkey in that P4 position. And you can see him just up there. And then Priadko is going to be right behind him in that Mercedes, leading for the amateur division. And you can see everyone's car doing those little hops. That is the indication that they are getting their setups and they are primed and ready for the race. They've committed to their race now. They have got their strategies. And now it's looking like a real spicy one. So here we go. 15 seconds before greens, or at least the formation lap to begin. All right, folks, and here we go. It is time for everyone to get their game face on. And it's time to see how everyone really puts it down in the heat of the race. Sees the helicopters pulling out. It is everyone just queuing up, getting themselves ready. I'm very curious as to how we can see Starkey make himself be very, very difficult for some of the pro drivers in his field. So you can see Brian Anderson slipping behind for a little bit there. And, oh, a little bit of concertina effect. As you can see, Zaza slows right down. That could have been a very, very precarious incident if not handled correctly. Luckily, these drivers, they've had their practice, they've had their driver's briefing, they've had their race procedure, and they know it now like clockwork. I'm also very curious as to how Priadko is going to be doing here. That Mercedes here, kind of playing a little bit of dark horse. Makes me wonder if there's been any kind of balance changes. Yeah, a few drivers are looking very, very primed to go, and you can see how close they are getting to each other as the atmosphere is about to heat up. Moffat leads, and Moffat is going to have control of this race when it starts. He needs to get that good getaway and get it fast. We've seen him do it in races before. Can he do it again? That's the question on our minds. Zaza is going to be close behind, with Anderson and Starkey also coming up very hot. But everyone is going to get in 2x2 formation now, ready for the start of the race. You are here in the Helicam. You are here in the heat of the moment. This is going to be Lightspeed Racing Twilight Season 2, Round 4, here at the Hungaroring. Everything is to play for. The championship could hang in the balance, and this is where it gets very interesting. So final corner now. Everyone's trying to just get some squaring up done, get some 2x2s. There's a big gap. You can see Priadko trying to speed up. And any minute now, the green flag is going to fall. And there you go, that's your signal. We're away. It is time to go racing. We're on board now with P4, and that's going to be Craig Starkey, as we can see the entire field going for any kind of gap. And you can see that is going to be Krasnov putting himself in the middle. Big condensing down the bottom end of the field. It goes 3-4 wide. As you can see further down, there is a massive spread that's happening all of a sudden. Richard Cook is going to be one that is a big gainer, as they've got past Finn Tag and Gary Barham. And in this mid-pack, you're just seeing them tussling for space, trying to hold that inside line and immediately get the jump on anyone. You're going to see Starkey as well, who is going to be pushing around and getting it around the outside of Brian Anderson. Krasnov themselves is also looking to get a move on that Ferrari, and it's looking very close with them. It's going to be a heck of a fight. Gregorelli is in here as well, and Gregorelli has interestingly got a drive-through penalty. We did have a little bit of a contact, and you can see there's also a little bit of contact coming through between some of these other cars. So like, for instance, Finn Tag, Gary Barham, they're going to be trading places, but it might not have been the cleanest of all deals. And there's a little bit of tapping between the 27 76. And so Finn Tag is completely out of this. He is completely down. So what happened to Finn Tag? Let's get the replay on that and see just what went on here. So they're going around the corner and they just get tapped in the rear, and that was by Paul Sims. So he's just completely out of the running, and now he's going to be all the way down in P20. It is not looking good for him here. And it's going to be very good for Zaza and Moffat, because all of this is kicking off and they are quietly making their way up in the heat of the moment here. So they've really done a good job to just keep their noses clean. You see a little bit of a battle between Alexei and Sullivan. Both of them really giving it absolutely everything. Gavin Sullivan is going to be the one that yields in this ordeal, and a little bit of tussling further down in the field also. Yeah, Gregorelli sitting there with a drive-through, but very big wide run. And Mishin, interestingly, is going to be heading into the pits. These two are going to be constantly tussling, constantly fighting. Oh, big contact made. That's a big tank slapper coming from, I think that was the McLaren. They might even look like the Porsche has a little bit of damage, because they lost a lot of speed through that section. Everett even is going to get involved in the action as Roger Dismukes, but Dismukes is going to be dropping out in a big way, and oh, that is going to be Barham who is coming off here, and that is going to be a very, very painful ordeal for them. So unfortunately, we're going to see and check back with what happened here. So we're on board with Barham as they were coming through into the second sector of the race. And yeah, they just overcooked it. They just overcooked it there. They're into the wall. Luckily, it's in the infield, so they don't collect anyone. But the question now is he going to be able to recover? So everyone is looking very, very lively. And now we are going to be on board with Priadko as we jump back into real time, and you can see that Priadko is getting very close and trying to angle his way against Brian Anderson, who has lost a lot of time to Starkey in this whole tussle. We have a few drivers that we want to keep an eye on. We've got Robert Everett, who's getting very close to Dismukes. They're going to be going for a bit of a move onto the inside here at turn 1. So it's going to be a Pro-Am driver versus their amateur compatriot. They're going to hang it tight to the inside. Dismukes outbrakes themselves and goes wide. And that is going to be all the opportunity that Everett needs to get a run. But Dismukes does have a little bit of overspeed compared to their opponent. It's not going to be enough, however. They're going to be getting the move, and they're going to be getting it fairly cleanly. One to jump on with, though, is Paul Sims. He did have a good run, but he is going to probably face some manner of repercussion for those incidents and for the racing that just kicked off there. They are right in the middle of a little bit of a mid-pack battle, though. So P10, 11 and 12 are decided by these three, and very closely so. But enough of that, because we have Priadko up at the top, who's going to be challenging and fighting hard. Well, that's going to be a very big move, a little bit of a lunge in my opinion from Priadko there, just sort of placing themselves in space that I don't know if they really belonged in, but they're going to go very wide and they're going to lose the place again against Brian Anderson. Let's just take a little bit of a look back. As you can see there, they just pushed themselves off, and I'd say overdid it a little bit here. So you can see the immediate repercussion. He just outbraked himself, thinks he's in the clear, and then it's going to be a bit of a wake-up call, bit of a reality check for the driver here, say knowing that you can play those kinds of games, but karma could strike back if you bank it dirty. And it did look, at least from the helicam, it did look a little bit sketchy. Not like the space was properly there or left to warrant such move. Anyway, we'll keep an eye on Priadko here because he is the wild card in all of this, and it looked like a fairly large slide through there. He is the wild card in this ordeal, though. Krasnov is there to keep him honest, make sure that he doesn't overstep his line. Even sounds like a little bit of locking coming for that car, just show how much they are really pushing that thing. They even eye up a move on the inside, heading through the second sector and heading into the sort of twisties of the Hungaroring here. Priadko is cutting the track a little bit, so he's got to be careful of that too. No one is immune to cutting the track, but you've got to keep a lid on it. All the stewards are going to start scrutinizing, and you do not want to be in their crosshairs when things get a little bit too heated, I would say. Here we are, the track has evolved, so it was fast back in qualifying, and now it has evolved to optimum, so that grip is certainly going to be a major help for a lot of our runners on the field. And I look on board now, and I see that there is going to be a heck of a fight brewing down, but that is going to be Robert Everett. So what happened there? Let's take a look on board with them, and you can just see they took a little bit too much of the grass, and they are going to be finding themselves just waiting to get back on the racing line, of course making sure that they rejoin safely and not in the path of another car. but that is going to be them dropping down to P18 here, which is not where you want to be. I think it's just that overdriving of the car, a little bit too much aggression, a little bit too much push. It's going to see yourself in the sticks and in a little bit of trouble overall. Here we are, Priatko once again eyeing up the move on Anderson. We're going to take a look from Anderson's perspective, as they are probably going to be feeling a little bit anxious by this point. They're looking a little bit wary. We are just coming up to 10 minutes within this race. Remember, drivers have to refuel as part of their mandatory stop, so that's where you can see the little 1 next to everyone's name. That way we can also track when people have gone for their stops. I'm going to say Brian Anderson, and that's going to be a fairly well fought drive so far. Andrew Priatko. Finn Tag and Roger Dismakers are going to be having a positional trade. So that is going to be a heck of a move there. And Finn Tag is going to start their climb back up to the top. Almost a bit of a recovery drive, one might say, given what happened to them earlier in the race. So they, of course, did have that contact right at the start, and that put Finn Tag well and truly out of the order. So all eyes are on, say, Finn Tag, eyes are on Priatko. Paul Sims has got a little bit of recovery and driving to do. I do wonder, though, if they've got a little bit of damage. That could be a big issue for them. Then we are going to be seeing ourselves having a couple of battles coming up, as Paul Sims is going to be hot to the back of Robert Homer. They're going to be charging hard as we come through turn 12, heading into turn 13. They're going to be getting that move on the inside, and they're going to be confirming it very nicely as we come on through. That Lamborghini sounding absolutely gnarly here. Really charging through the gears in that dog box. As we come through, the pit window has now officially opened, folks. The pit window is open. So now, until 10 minutes left in the race, we will have drivers come in for at least one mandatory stop. Andrew Priatko, who we're back on board with here, is really fighting and charging to make the most of that position. Craig Starkey, though, is going to be, I'd say, the biggest winner in all of this, because they are in a complete space of their own. They're in a space of their own, surrounded by pros. Anderson is busy fighting off Priatko. Zaza is trying to catch up to Moffat and not doing the best of jobs. He's 3.5 seconds behind. But in fact, Moffat getting the best lap of the session so far with a 143.927. So they're looking very, very fine, mighty fine here. But enough of that, because Priatko is going to be eyeing up a move. That nearly could have been contact. Let's take a hop on board and see what they are doing, as they're going to be, again, eyeing up moves. And could be very close here. A little bit too close for comfort. Priatko is fast. They are moving. They are making up time. In fact, his last lap was a half a second faster than Anderson, so he's definitely got the pace on tap. Just needs to rein in that consistency, make sure that they're bringing in that in, lap out. So you go, say 45s all around, it looks like. about the same. And big lunge heading into the first corner, and they're gonna be overcooking it massively. That was a massive send for Priadko there. I just want to see what it looks like on the TV cameras, so let's jump in and see what happened there. That was a little bit too far back, so my apologies there. Getting used to this new camera tech. It's not an easy feat to get this camera tech going. But of course, we saw the massive onboard there. And the big lunge. So there we go. As we're seeing the stewarding reports start to come in here, we have a fairly sizable penalty being handed out to a couple of our drivers. Namely, in terms of our race here, we have a 10-second penalty for that is going to be Alexei in order to serve or causing a collision earlier in the race. And then you have also a warning for aggressive squeezing be applied. So they need to rein in their act. They need to calm down on the driving front. And then Paul Sims is going to be having 15 seconds to their name for the incident that caused Finn Tag to be basically out of contention in the Pro-Am division. That 15 seconds is going to be applied retroactively unless they serve their time on the course. So our eyes are going to be firmly trained on these drivers as the race goes on. But Finn Tag, I gotta say, has done a really good job of recovering. They have done an amazing job to sort of roll with the punches, keep things moving, keep things going, and despite a setback, they have done really well to get themselves into a great momentum, a great sense of momentum with the race recovery effort. Even starting to challenge the likes of Alexei as they make their way back to the Pro-Am grid. And we are hopping on board with Sergei Krasnov, as now I think Priadko's overzealousness earlier in the race has cost them dearly. We've seen one too many lunges from that pink Mercedes. And now Krasnov is getting dangerously close to be making a move. They are going to be hungry for that P5 position. They want to be reunited. There is definitely a little bit of ego involved, I imagine, because they are going to be wanting to be ahead of an amateur driver. It's never going to be a happy sight if you are a pro driver and there is someone 2 classes below up ahead of you on timing. But Priadko has just been awarded 5 seconds for the dive bomb on themselves with Anderson. So we can take another look at that super quick. You can see just here there is a massive dive, and that looks like the replay function has completely broken for me, so my apologies there. It did a completely different thing to what I asked it to. But you're going to have Nicky Taylor, who is going to be trying to chase down Richard Cook. They're going to be trying to get a move done, and you can see them going in and then out and then in again as they go to the apex. I'm not sure if that's going to be scrutinized as making multiple movements, but even so, that is looking like a move done for Mickey Taylor there in that Ferrari. Is it going to be challenged by Richard Cook? Doesn't look like it. They're going to keep the proximity, but I think that move is as good as done for the time being. So that is where we leave off with them. And a big crusader down the bottom is going to be Finn Tag, as we are coming through to turn. They're going to be hanging on the inside. They're going to be making it work. All contact between the two. That is going to leave no choice but for Alexei to yield and back off, as now they sit firmly in 14th. Alexei now down behind. So everyone is just trying to find their form, find their places. Again, Starkey is in their own little realm, their own little world. Zaza has dropped off significantly to Daniel Moffat, and he's looking completely untouchable right now. You got Zaza with 5.6 seconds of distance between themselves and the leader. And although they seem to be making it back, they're just as quickly losing it on certain sections. So the strength and weakness of their car is being put on full display and in full force. Looking around the rest of the field, we have James Payton now. Richard Cook seems to have lost a fair chunk of pace. I can't lie. It's looking like that Mercedes is struggling a little bit. I'm not sure if they've got any damage to their car or something like that, but the pace is not there right now. Couldn't decipher what it would be, but that pace is fairly gone. It needs to be coming back fairly soonish. Because right now, Payton is going to be challenging them for P2 in the Pro Amateur class. Now it's time to see what they can do. They have half a second to make up now. And they're going to be having to fight for every 10th. See, just caught in the throes of the battle. The dirty air could be making its effect profoundly on that beautiful Audi. Now Mercedes is going to be keeping its wits about it for sure. As we can see here, this is going to be Payton making themselves very known, very clear. They're going to be going for a narrow line, but they haven't got the speed to commit fully to a move. They're just not going to be able to get it done. And despite mounting a sizable challenge, it's not meant to be. Not quite yet. Not for a few minutes yet, I don't think. But if they get this exit right, heading down the start-finish straight, they just might be able to do something. That looks to be what he's done, and that looks to be where he could see a little bit of a move. He's going to be on the inside as we come down to the first corner. That is going to be it. That is going to be James Payton coming through to take the second spot. And a great move, I have to say that it was. A great job there all around. Preko is going to be continuing their push, continuing their fight up against Anderson in the orange Ferrari. And dang, they are not giving up. Not yet, and not by a long shot. As you can see, even just coming out of the chicane, they're going to be eyeing up moves. They're going to be putting themselves right into difficult positions and angling for really any opportunity to get by. I think they're being a little bit overzealous in my opinion, because they're going to be putting themselves into a position where they might get another 5 seconds. They've already got one for the dive bomb that we saw here at turn 12. They don't want to repeat. Yes, they're being slightly overzealous, and where you don't need to be so. Time is a ticking, time will tell. Priadko is looking very hungry for that spot, but at least for the time being, as you can see, Richard Cook heading into the pit lane, along with a couple of other drivers. I think some drivers are just electing to take their pit stop as early as they can. So Scott Cameron is going to be the next one to also do it and take their stop. And that is where we're going to be left with quite a substantial amount of drivers making gains, but will it work out for the longer term? Fuel conservation is going to be a very, very important element. Robert Homer could be another one that we keep an eye on as we are coming through to the sort of middle portion of the race. This is the point where everyone has found their equilibrium. They have found their place and they have found a home for themselves and are just trying to subtly, smoothly and gracefully get their laps in. Priadko, though, is having absolutely none of it. You can see him angling for the move. He's going to put his nose there, and that's going to be contact. That is going to be Anderson completely collected, and he's in the wall. He is in the wall, and that is going to be him. Oh, no, he could still move. He could get himself out of there. He could get himself back on track. He needs to be careful of Peyton and needs to be careful of Paul Sims coming up. But he's going to be making himself back on track. It's going to be P8 that Anderson comes out in. Hopefully they manage to dodge getting any major damage, but that car is looking pretty mangled. Those body panels are lifted and it's looking very wobbly here. You can see him limping into the pits. He's got really no choice. He's coming through there. There really is, yeah, no choice for him there, unfortunately. He's going to have to come in. Priadko's going to get the P4, but at what cost? I don't think that is going to be staying for long. Those two have had a little bit of a tussle over multiple laps, and when you have a tussle like that, it's easy for a long battle to turn into a heated one. That's something you've got to be careful of and avoid if you can. So when the patience runs thin is where the racing falls short, as I like to say. Anyway, Homer is looking to be the closest driver to another car, but we can take a look around the rest of the field, and around the rest of the field, Daniel Moffat stands completely clean against the rest of the field. Even just looking at the helicam, you can see how distant he is. 7.5 seconds to Claudio Zaza, and Craig Starkey 3 seconds behind that. Quite a few drivers are going to be looking for opportunities to maybe get the edge in terms of pit strategy, as that is going to be Anderson dropping down fairly critically, down all the way into 19th. As you can see, the timing books are going to be coming down quite sharpish. He's still in that pit lane. Yeah, Anderson down in 19th, unfortunately. They are going to be spending a little bit longer in there, where they, of course, have to take their stop, and they have to sort their car out a little bit before they can take it back on the track and take it to the end of this race. We're coming up to the halfway mark. Let us know, folks, how you think this race has gone so far. And of course, if you are enjoying the content, then do subscribe to the channel. Do join us on Discord, and if you feel like supporting the work that we do, feel free to hit us up on Patreon for all of that goodness. And being able to support the league means that you can support all the great work that the rest of the team does. I'm just here for the cookies. Everyone is looking mighty fine as this race continues. Halfway mark, everyone's pretty spaced out. Leading this pack in each division, you have Daniel Moffat leading the pro side of things. And depending on how much they are running, they could see themselves going to the pits maybe a little earlier than everyone else. They could sink some of that time gap, and they could get their pit stop in a little bit early, a little bit more lift and coast, and that could serve them dividends in the final stages with fuel conservation, tyre conservation. And now that the track has rubbered in a little bit, they will have the grip to continue going. Leading the Pro-Ams is going to be Craig Starkey. It is going to be that blue and white Ferrari. And although they have got a fairly sizable gap either side, it's not going to remain static forever. In fact, Starkey seems to be making up time on Claudio Zaza. And then Priadko in the 4th position overall and 1st in the amateur division. They're going to be seeing themselves hanging on tight to that top spot. And unfortunately, we do see Brian Anderson coming out in dead last here But they're going to be a little bit of a tussle, as Gregorelli seems to be massively off in terms of pace. Don't really know what's happened to that car. There is massive offage in terms of the pace there. It's got Cameron. It's going to be inheriting a free spot. And Robert Everett is about to make a move on Machine. So let's see what they can do here. They're going to make a much better corner. Return 2. Turn 3 now. Oh, much more speed, much wider. And that is a Machine. In fact, heading to the inside. So I wonder if they were trying to let them go. Maybe just not wanting to fight, knowing that they were in different classes. I think just choosing not to fight. Which is a shame, because they are still competitors out on track, but 100% understandable. Now it's going to be Robert Everett coming into P14. And now is going to be looking to close the gap between themselves and Dispices as this fight rages on. Just looking around. Everyone else has mostly found themselves their own pace, found themselves their own space. Oh, but Homer could be the only exception to that rule. And you can see that Gregorelli is going to be heading into the pits now. A very quick stop and start. As far as stops go, they are still going to be down in 19th. So the crucial time loss, let's hope they can sink it as time goes on. We are about to strike that halfway point of the race, folks. You can see the standings forming up with Machine and Everett trading places once again. So I'm not sure what happened. I think we're going to take a quick jump back and see what happened there with Robert Everett, as they seem to be struggling with their car. And oh, you can see right there, they just lose a little bit of the rear end and lose the grip. That is going to be a crucial mistake that they have made, which is not what you want to be doing at this stage of the race. There we go. We're going to have a bit of a mistake coming from Paul Sims as well. Let's just sort of check on what happened there. So it looks like he ran completely wide and then later demoted himself in terms of position. And then you have got, crucially, when we jump back into the real time, you have got Daniel Moffat and Craig Starkey both heading into the pit lane. So our leaders for the Pro and Pro-Am division have pitted in. And now it is time to see everyone jumping in and going hard on their races. Paul Sims is going to be another one jumping into the pits, getting that stop in early on as relative to the rest of the field. They don't even make up half of the cars that have taken this stop so far. Which means Claudio Zarza is going to be inheriting the lead. They're going to crucially inherit that lead. And they are going to be in a prime position. You can see along the board few drivers who have served their penalty. So Paul Sims is, I believe, serving his. And you have Priadko, who has been given an additional 10 seconds for their incident against Anderson. That spin has cost them dearly. We're on board now with Claudio Zarza. We're going to see things from their perspective as they are going to be pushing hard and driving as much out of that car as they can. Priadko is going to be heading into the pits, trying to sort of follow the cadence of the rest of the leaders. And this is where Zaza could, if they play their cards right, have a major advantage. They look a little bit wide there, but they are going to be just trying to put down the best laps that they can in order to secure themselves a much needed time gap, a time lead. Because that's all they really want right now. They know how far behind they are against Moffat. They cannot afford to keep dropping a gap. So while they're ahead, while they're not affected by dirty air and other cars, just get something down. Get themselves in that position and get themselves out of the weeds and in the clear. We've got Priadko tagging Alexei in the pit now, so that is going to be Priadko just finishing the stop and coming out. I believe that's going to be in P10, just ahead of Mishin, with Alexei, I believe, serving. So yes, they have just served their penalty, and Fintag also making their stop after their sort of tumultuous start. They're going to be getting things back on the right track. And they're going to be getting themselves out as quickly as they possibly can, I'm sure. Fintag going to be completing their stop, coming out the pit lane now. Where are they going to come out though? Because you've got the leader of Zaza who is about to come past. You can see just up ahead. They're going to have to work that car to get it back into racing form. Get things back ship shape, but Tag's come out in a really good position because he can even maybe try to emulate the lines of the leaders in order to gain some time back. Currently sitting at 45.4 best lap, so a second slower than Zaza and a second and a half compared to none other than Daniel Moffat. It's come around to the last corner here to complete lap 19. All drivers are going to have to bring their A game. One who has brought their A game is Starkeys. They're going to be making an overtake after Dismukes outbreaks himself on the last corner. That's going to be them going up to P8. And that could see themselves getting net P2. After everyone else ahead of them has taken their stop. This could be P2 for Craig Starkey. If he puts down a real good race, we could see a real show. As it stands for Gavin Sullivan, could be looking for a move from Robert Homer. We're going to be pushing. We've got Andrew Priadko as well, who is going to be fighting against Dismukes to get by. See them push in here. And just see how much they are driving the heck out of that car. Michi now in the pits. And Zaza is going to be following suit as well. 20 laps under their belt. And you're going to see Priadko going on the inside. Dismukes leaving him the space, not wanting to be aggressive and try and fight this. And sort of taking the wiser choice here. But that is going to be Zaza. That's going to be Taylor. That's going to be a bit of a trade between Anderson and Mishin, as Mishin's just coming out of the pit lane. Anderson, I do feel for him here, given the incident that occurred. Priadko, say, down in P9. But yeah, Anderson lost out big time with everything that went down. They got to say, Gavin Sullivan is a driver that is doing very well here. They're doing exceptionally well. If you want to take a look at this, Zaza's done their stop and they're back out. They are back out and back in full force. And they are over 7 seconds ahead of Moffat. So whatever magic they have done to get that kind of lead and overcut that hard, maybe they've got a little bit less fuel, but I wouldn't put it past Zaza to have just put down an absolute stonker of a few laps and a strategy. Because we've seen that they're capable. But Moffat is not leaving anything to chance. It's a 44.3 last lap, the fastest last lap And the fastest before that, the fastest before that. Moffat is absolutely on fire, and they want everyone to know it. Look on board with Scott Cameron, though, as they are going to be fighting with Paul Sims potentially in a minute. They've been teetering on that edge, teetering on sort of 5/10 to a second mark. But that is going to be Everett, and oh, what has happened to Everett? They're in the pit, but they're going to be serving a drive-through penalty. I wonder if anything caused that. Let's take a look at the logs quickly. It doesn't look like anything happened to warrant such action, so they are going to be serving that drive-through. Scott Cameron is going to be continuing to eye up a move. Gavin Sullivan's going to be heading into the pits here, and they are going to be one of the last few drivers at this point. Who still had to take their stop. Now, I'd say 4 drivers remain, and all that is going to be... That's going to be a retirement. We're down to now 18 drivers, unfortunately. Scott Cameron eyeing a move on the inside of Sims, but he doesn't fully commit. He doesn't have the space. You just can't have that kind of move and make it work. We don't want to see an incident or a collision like what we've maybe seen in rounds or even laps past. No such thing as too safe when it comes to overtaking. Can be overzealous, and that is usually what puts you or your opponent in a wall. Either way, you're in trouble. So yeah, Scott Cameron, we keep an eye, as he's going to be in a very good spot. We can just keep the pressure on Sims here. Could stand to gain a lot of time. He's going to be careful of the dirty air, mind. But he does seem to be on fairly good pace. And keeping that pace, which is going to be vital for them. We eagerly await and patiently wait for the final 20 minutes as we are in the final third of this session now, folks. 10 minutes left remaining on that pit window, so Krasnov, Peyton, Homer and Dismukes all need to pit in within the next 10 minutes or they are going to be handed severe penalties. Curiously, Finn Tagg and Brian Anderson have got their best laps of the race so far just now. They're going to be looking very fine and very dandy if they can keep that pace up. Maybe even make up a little bit more time as we look forward. And we can see Daniel Moffat. He has made up a substantial amount of time to his opponents. And is going to be looking like a real challenger in this main fight, this key fight. So all questions are in the air, but what is not in the air for now is that they clearly heeded the warning, and now Krasnov and Homer are both in the pits very quickly, I might add, because you've already got Krasnov finishing their stop. They're going to be coming out in P4. But now is where everyone gives it their best shot. And they bring it home right to the end. Payne is going to inherit the lead, but being that they are the only driver to get their... I'll say to get their stop yet under the books, I would not be remiss to say that Peyton is not going to be holding on to that lead for long. That much I can assure you, ladies and gentlemen. Now the timings are all about balance. They're about consistency. You don't want to be going for any super big surges, because what you don't want happening is you do not want a upset. If you have a mistake and you lose the car at this critical juncture, you are in serious, serious trouble. So don't overdo it. Don't be overzealous. And you will not be punished for the craziness that you are about to witness and endure. See, Paul Sims now is going to be the one to keep an eye on as they are getting dangerously close to Scott Cameron. Paul Sims, as we know, has been a very fast, very pacey driver across the board. Daniel Moffat is also a driver who has really made those upward gains, and you can see that they have made up all of that time just from pushing super hard. They've got 43.635 fastest lap. They have done insanely in terms of pace. They are already on the back of Claudio Zaza. So they have got absolutely everything going in their favor in that McLaren. Let's see what they can do, what they can bring to the table as they are behind that Ferrari. They're going to have to navigate that car very, very carefully. See the screaming of that car. They're going to be eyeing up inside. He's going to be coming across. Zaza is going to be coming across to try and defend, squeeze into the center. Space is going to be left between the two. There's not going to be any contact, but still, Moffat is going to have the run to get significantly alongside. They're going to hang it on the outside line, not giving up yet. Alongside through turns 12, turns 13, and now turn 14 is going to be where Moffat has the inside line, and he is going to take it into second position. Is Zaza going to respond in any meaningful manner? That is my question to you, folks. That is my question to you here. Everyone is going to be keeping an eye. Keep an eye on these top two for me, will you? Because now, Zaza's going to have to work for it. Taylor's going to be coming up as Dismukes is going to be heading into the pits. Yeah, got 16 seconds of time between themselves and Priadko. I don't think there's going to be any major dent. So Dismukes, one of two drivers still yet to take their pit, and they're going to be taking it. So eyes really are on Peyton. We're not seeing much in terms of performance degradation, but they have to still take their stop. They have to be going in very, very soon. Let's see if they do as we come through the final few corners in this lap. I think it would be wise to, because you're just going to be losing time now. You've just got time that you can only lose, and that is going to be... Oh, wait, that is Starkey. What's happened to Starkey? Let's see what's gone on here. You can see coming through the chicane. They're going to keep it pinned and just lose it over the curbs. They're going to go for a 360 spin, and they are going to recover it, but they are going to be dropping crucial positions to the likes of Pradko, and even going to be losing to Krasnov there. So a massive time loss, not insurmountable. They can get it back. Blue flags are in place, so back markers are going to be getting out the way. But yeah, they need to get that recovery fast, and they want to get past Priadko, because again, it's a little bit of a pride thing. I don't think they want to be in a position where they are behind a amateur class driver. There you go, that's going to be James Payton in the pits now, getting their refuel in that is mandatory as per the race rules. And now Starkey, even with that little hiccup, that little incident, is going to be re-inheriting themselves the big mantle of Pro-Am leader alongside Pradko, who was leading for the amateurs. But Zaza is potentially angling up an attack. I don't know how much they're going to be able to commit to it. Everyone's taken their stop now, so the pit window can close without consequence. Nobody is going to be left out to dry. And Zaza seems to be losing time on both corners. He's gone from about half a second gap to 1 second to now nearly 2. In just a space of about half a lap to a full lap. Goes to show the amount of pace that Moffat truly does have on display. And Scott Cameron is looking to trade in some pace and aggression here, as they're going to be coming up very hot on the back of Richard Cook. They're net P2 in the amateur standings. And let's see what they can do as they come through to the chicane. Again, aggressive on the curbs. You've got to be careful not to overdo it, because that is what we saw claim Craig Starkey and put him much further down in terms of pace very shortly ago. Gavin Sullivan is going to be another one who is pushing against Paul Sims. They got a massive run, but they're not going to commit to it. They can't get the car round, and Paul Sims is going to live to race another day. It looks to be McLaren's both really trying to get their aggro on and get around these other cars. Starkey as well is going to be another one that we keep an eye on, as they are getting very close to Pradko. And now they are going to be looking to take that P4 spot right back. Really goes to show the pedigree of these drivers, that even with these major mistakes, and in Krasnov's case, even with a 15-second penalty, the pace they put on hand, the pace they put out on the track, means that they've basically absorbed that, and in their class they still lead by a very substantial margin. So Starkey leads to his next closest driver by 26 seconds. And then you have Pradko with over half a minute between himself and Scott Cameron, the next closest amateur driver. That is a heck of a race distance. To put it in perspective, that is about a third to a quarter of the race time. In terms of per lap speed, that is a quarter of a lap. Almost a third. Very significant time gain there. The pit window, as you heard from race control, is now officially closed, meaning that it is now time for the final 10 minutes of racing. Anyway, I'm going to keep my eye on Starkey for the moment, as it looks like they are hyper-focused on getting around this Mercedes. Gavin Sullivan could be making moves further down, but this is my focus right now. This is where it's all happening, where it's all at. As you can see, some of the mental game start to factor in. Pradko's kind of feeling that pressure as moves start to get closer and start to stack. He's just chasing it down there. He's not going to be getting it through the twisties, so going to hop on board with Gavin Sullivan. You can just see the move that he made to get it done was the inside of turn 1, and they had it just fully committed through and gunned it out into turn 2. So it really shows that they did have the moxie and the pace on tap. And now we look on board with Craig Starkey, who goes to the inside before retreating to the racing line. Nice and clean, but yeah, establishing that pressure. But Pradko going to be coming across and is going to ensure that Starkey has a very hard time getting any meaningful overtakes. See the rest of the drivers out on track now. And fairly spaced out, though we've got multiple packs that have kind of converged on one another. The final few crucial minutes of this race. And Starkey is going to be running out of time, and I think running out of patience. I would not envy Starkey's position right now. He's so close. And yet so far. So close and yet so far. That's kind of the mantra here. Priako, at least on paper, looks to be putting down the better peak pace, but Starkey was a 10th faster last lap. And we're going to see if that trend can continue. Because they could have it by race's end if they do it just right here. A little bit more of a distance looked, we can see just the proximity for what it is, and that's realistically just over a single car length. So they are giving everything and going to the absolute limit with it, I'd say. We have a little bit of a wider line coming from Pragko, but I think it was to get the lead out and get a little bit more top end speed. Starkey can compromise with the slipstream. So he has still got viable options there to attack. But he's not going to be just getting that closeness, that proximity that he really, really needs. And the final 5 minutes are coming upon us very fast. See Vintag, another driver that has been making moves, charging up the field, and they're going to be challenging on Paul Sims, as Paul Sims seems to be losing a not insignificant amount of time. They've lost to Gavin Sullivan by over 2 seconds now, and Fintech could be looking to get this move done. They're going to be having it on the inside, not too dissimilar to how the driver before them did. Paul Sims has got the space, but he does run a little bit wide, and I don't think he's going to be giving it up so easily just yet. They are going to be keeping the run down, but no, there is going to be no change. And that is going to be Fintag taking the position from Paul Sims. So he's now a bit further up. He's not going to gain in terms of his class. He's still going to be net P5. But he certainly made a movement in terms of on-track spots. Final 5 minutes here, folks. And it's going to be a little bit of a tussle for the amateur class as Gavin Sullivan and Scott Cameron. And oh, that's a massive off for Scott Cameron. What just happened there? What just happened? I need to see this because he's just gone straight into the pits. It looks like he just had a malfunction. He just completely had an equipment malfunction. And yeah, you can see he's just sat in the pit, so he's going to end up getting on a silver platter, more or less. The positions of Gavin Sullivan. Yeah, Gavin Sullivan's going to have it. Although, curiously, putting at least internally, there's also a drive-through penalty that Cameron has to serve. I wonder if that is going to get observed by the race control team. Or whether that is just an automatic aspect of the game that is immutable. Dmitry Mishin is another driver who is going to be pushing for a good resolution, a good outcome in their end of the woods. And although they are P17 right now, technically, they have put down an amazing drive, an amazing fight, as with all of these drivers. They have really put down a great fight. James Payton going to be going for a move on the Porsche of Robert Homer. Look around the outside. Isn't going to get it. As much as he pushes, try as he might. It's not happening. It's not happening. But Daniel Moffat has got everything happening right now because he is 12.5 seconds clean of Zaza right now. He has got such a gap. It is looking like a real task for anyone to challenge him. Even when it looks like he got seriously undercut by, or overcut by Zaza. He's just there. He's having none of it. And even with such a tumultuous race for others, has kept it clean. And Moffat is going to be the one who takes things home. It all goes to plan. So 1 minute and 30 seconds as Moffat crosses the line. This is going to be the final lap of the race. The final lap of the race, folks. This is going to be it. And this is where we could potentially call it. So if anyone's going to make any money moves, now is the time to do it. James Payton is going to be looking for opportunity. He got very close to that Porsche at one point and very close to the curbs. He's going aggressive. He's really trying to get it done. And he really could get it done, but he cannot be overzealous about it. Also, I do want to give a shout out particular to Adriano Gregorelli because they have committed and remained that way for this entire race. So even when things did not go their way at the start, they held out. They're absolute trooper that they are. They kept it going to the end of the race, and for that they have my immediate and undying respect for committing to the race, even when it's not a good result that you maybe want. It is still a show of respect. We got James Payton now. If they're going to be making a move, now is the time, and I think they know it. They're going to be making a big lunge around the outside, but not having that optimal line is going to mean that Homer is going to get away very quickly. And that is not going to be it for them. But looking like it is going to be it for Daniel Moffat. The final corner here as they come through. What a drive from the McLaren, and what a race. And they are going to be winning the Twilight Season 2 race here at the Hungaroring. The fourth round is going to go to them. And now everyone else is going to come across the line. So Zaza with the second place spot. Krasnov is going to be coming through here. And 15 seconds behind is where they finish, but everyone has done a great job. And it's a position that they hold dear and a result that they can head high. Pratko and Starkey also finished and come across the line, so Starkey's going to be coming away with that win for the Pro-Ams. You got Pratko coming away with the winner for the amateurs, and then Daniel Moffat, of course, absolutely stomping around the rest of the field. Alexei Mishin have crossed the line and are coming through here. Massive queue of cars. You got James Payton, Richard Cook and Gavin Sullivan all in this massively condensed pack. As the pyrotechnics and the smoke go off, Payton isn't going to get that move, but they are going to get that P8, and it's a good job. Finn Tag going to come through P11, and it's an amazing result for their inaugural race, especially considering the troubles that they had. And now the last driver of Brian Anderson comes across the line, and that is your session, folks. You can see the timings on the screen and the gaps to the leaders, but that is it. That is officially it. Everett is going to be with the DQ. Gary Barham left out earlier in the race, and everyone else came through safe and sound with a brilliant race. Well done. And that, my friends, is going to do it. So from all of us at Lightspeed Racing, all of us at the team, all of the drivers, and all of you in the chat. Thank you for making this event what it is and making it such a blast to commentate and race through. Next round is going to take us to Monza, the Temple of Speed, or the Temple of Doom as it's very affectionately called on our SimGrid page. Definitely jump over there if you have not done so already in order to check out what we do and check out the rest of the season ahead. But of course, we do have our final results here. Stewards may answer to any additional reports made by the drivers, so we will update you if there are any changes to the standings. And for now, as we come through to the final stages of the championship, I've been Sappy. You've been watching Lightspeed Racing, Season 2 of Twilight here at the Hungaroring. And next time, we will see you at Monza. In the same time next week, and the same time for the penultimate round of this championship. Once again, we do want to pay our respects for Christian Colagrosso, a great driver and a great sim racer, but more importantly, a great friend and a great personality that we unfortunately lost in the scene. So, our condolences to family and friends. And it is going to be ringing a little bit hollow and a little bit of a somber undertone as we head to the RTGF race tomorrow with SimGrid and VCO. But they're amazing, honestly. They'll be sorely missed. And everyone, on that note, have a good night. Enjoy things and people while you have them. And we'll take care and see you next time. Take care for now.